Welcome to the 12th report with Blessings Musugu, and these are the headlines. U.S. vows visa ban on high-profile corrupt Nigerians. Also, House of Representatives assures Nigerians on speedy passage of constitutional amendment bill. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger announced withdrawal from International Criminal Court. As usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country and outside. Sagir Ibrahim and Joshua Murai joining from Abuja, while Emmanuel Bagudu joins from Kano. We've got the details in a moment. We begin in Abuja, where we understand that the National Assembly has unsealed the office of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, located in Suite 2.05 of the Senate wing. This comes after a week after the senator formally notified the upper chamber of her intention to resume legislative duties following a 6-month suspension. Her return marks a significant development in the Senate as supporters welcome her reinstatement. No official statement has been released regarding the conditions of her return, but staff have resumed activities in the reopened office.
To unseal Senator Natasha Akpoti's office, I, Alabi Deputy Director, Sergeant at Arms, hereby unseal the office. The office is hereby unsealed. Thank you.
My colleague Sagir Ibrahim will be joining us shortly to give us more details of that. But in the meantime, the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja will today hear arguments in the defamation suit filed by the federal government through the Attorney General of the Federation on petitions by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello against suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Now, Akpoti-Uduaghan is facing a 3-count charge bordering on alleged false and defamatory comments against the President of the Senate and former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. At the last sitting, Justice Chizoba Orji granted her bail to the tune of 50 million naira after she pleaded not guilty to all the charges. We're now joined by our judiciary correspondent, Joshua Murai, who is live at the FCT High Court as we speak. Hello, Joshua. What is the latest on this case? All right, we'll circle back to Joshua, but in the meantime, Joshua Murai, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Blessings. I must bring your attention to what is currently happening here. Just before me is a moment because of Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. This is the side from the scene here. The passage, the people who came out to support Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. You can see the massive crowd right there going to the National Assembly, escorting the senator to the National Assembly. It is a factor here. Supporters have turned out.
Joshua Murai, are you there? Joshua, if you can hear me, you were speaking about the mammoth crowd that has accompanied the senator. What are the outcomes that we're expecting, and is the media allowed into the building?
Well,
all right, we'll circle back to Joshua Murai, but in the meantime, our correspondent Sagir Ibrahim will be joining us now. We did tell you about the unsealing of the senator's office that has been sealed throughout the term of her suspension, and now that she has, exhausted the time, the office has been unsealed. Sagir Ibrahim, what's the update on that?
Since developments here, it's still very quiet at the National Assembly, but like Joshua mentioned, she's expected, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the suspended Kogi Central Senator, is expected to arrive at the National Assembly at any moment. Matter of fact, I was at her office some moments ago to confirm, and indeed, those seals have been removed, indeed, clearing the way for her to resume as it is. What we've gathered so far is that from the FCT High Court, she will be proceeding to the premises of the National Assembly. I'm here stationed outside. After this live interview, definitely I'll be making my way to the main entrance of the National Assembly to expect the mammoth crowd that Joshua Emarai mentioned is coming from the court to this location. So we may not have a resumption of plenary as it may be, but then we have a new development as regards to the status of her suspension. And of course, we may be able to get some clarification as to whether she will be resuming, the plenary on October 7 and indeed would be in the hallowed chambers to continue with her legislative duties and functions. For now, it's very quiet as we expect the entourage to arrive. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Sergey Ibrahim, thank you for the update on that. Moving on now, the House of Representatives has convened a national public hearing on the ongoing review of the 1999 Constitution. Now, 86 bills are up for consideration, covering a wide range of issues such as governance reforms, devolution of powers, local government autonomy, electoral matters, including reforms in the judiciary. News Central's National Assembly correspondent reports.
The hearing, holding at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja, is described as a key platform to consolidate citizens' contributions ahead of legislative voting on the bills put forth for amendment. The national hearing, declared open by Nigeria's president, represented by the secretary to the government of the Federation, follows public hearings earlier held across the nation's 6 geopolitical zones in July.
The process you are undertaking today is therefore not only about amending legal provisions. It is about giving Nigerians renewed confidence that their voices matter in shaping the future of our democracy.
We intend to vote on the proposals expeditiously and to transmit them promptly to the State House of Assembly so that concurrence can be secured within the current legislative session.
Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the House Constitution Review Committee, Benjamin Kalu, says that the exercise is designed to ensure that Nigerians shape the constitutional reforms themselves.
We are opening the floor one last time for those who, for any reason, may have missed the regional sections. We do this to remove every excuse of not being heard, to ensure, in good faith, that the final product of this exercise belongs not to the Parliament, but is accepted by all citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Our hope is that this constitutional review will consolidate your country as a united, strong, stable, inclusive and progressive democracy with a political level playing field, offering enhanced guarantee for the respect of fundamental rights.
Several stakeholders present at the hearing re-echoed some of their demands.
If you look at the Constitution, there is no other, apart from the political cases, there is no other area that mention of timeline of any litigation in this country. There should be timeline for civil litigations, particularly oil spill matters.
We need an independent electoral commission, and the one way to ensure independent INEC is by ensuring that whomever is responsible for the appointment is not the person sitting in the seat of the president. It's important that the reserve seat is created so that we have more women in the National Assembly and state assemblies.
There are between 17 and 20 million Nigerians in diaspora, and you don't have the mechanism to allow them to participate in a national election. That should tell you something.
From reserved seats for women, individual candidacy, diaspora voting, and even state creation bills, the memorandas are numerous. But expert lawmakers, among other stakeholders here at this national public hearing, believe that this exercise provides yet another opportunity for Nigeria to provide a document that meets the aspiration and yearnings of millions of Nigerian citizens. In Abuja for News Central, Sergey Ibrahim.
Moving on now, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajudeen, has assured Nigerians of the speedy passage of the constitutional amendment bill. He gave the assurance in Abuja at the national public hearing on the review of the 1999 Constitution. Abbas stated that the Green Chamber would do everything possible to successfully amend the 1999 Constitution after failed attempts by previous assemblies. The Speaker commended Nigerians for coming out to ensure that their voice were heard. According to him, the process would have a positive impact on all sectors of society. Our correspondent Sagir Ibrahim joins us again for more on this. Sagir Ibrahim, how does the assurance given by the House reflect on the legislators' transparency as well as the responsiveness to public demand for constitutional reform?
This time, the Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives was very clear and emphatic on the mandate and the responsibilities of these lawmakers. He had mentioned the situation where quite a number of Nigerians, in their millions, have now lost trust and also faith in the legislature because several attempts to amend the 1999 Constitution, as it were, outlived the particular National Assembly that, tried or kick-started that process. So his message was quite clear at the National Public Hearing convened by the House of Representatives that this National Assembly, this 10th House of Representatives, will not be one to push over or carry over legislative matters such as a review of the 1999 Constitution. Because as you know, in a situation where unfortunately a particular National Assembly is unable to sit, deliberate and complete passage on a particular matter, be it a bill or an amendment, the next assembly that comes has to start the entire process from the beginning. So you see the reason why there is a serious problem and a serious concern with regards to that. Now, this is the reason why the Speaker of the House of Representatives is saying Nigerians are tired, Nigerians are concerned, Nigerians have lost faith. In order for this 10th assembly to save face, they will ensure that all of the amendments, 86 bills, as a matter of fact, are tended to and, of course, passed way ahead of time and way before the end of this assembly, so as for the president to do the much-needed signing into law of several, of this bill to act and, of course, ensure that all of Nigerians' input, all of Nigeria's contributions, and all of Nigerians' concerns about its legal, ground norm, as the case may be, are addressed once and for all without any concern that it might be a repetition of what it used to be in the past.
Sagir, speaking of repetition, Nigerians already know that these promises don't hold water. This is not the first time that there are promises of implementation of some reforms, 1990-something constitution. How can the body be held accountable for these promises? Because Nigerians are not only tired of the fact that the Constitutional Act has not been passed, they're also tired of the continuous promises that never come to fruition. So what is the guarantee this time?
Thank you very much, Blessings, for this question. At this point, I feel it's imperative for Nigerians to understand that if they do not come out to ensure that their voices are heard, then simply put, their voices will not be heard. Yesterday at the National Public Hearing, it was really impressive to see the number of Nigerians that turned out, women particularly. Blessings, I will not be mistaken if I say that women were there in their thousands. They were there to push particularly one bill that affects a majority of them, and that is the reserved seats for women. In this situation, they were given the much needed attention that they required. Several times when the speaker or the deputy speaker stood up, to make a contribution or to make a comment, the women would clap, because these individuals, these persons who are the leaders of the National Assembly also understand that these are things that are being clamored for by a sect that is obviously pushing clearly across all sectors in the social media and everywhere for, these demands to be met. This is because, and this is what publicity can do, and this is what standing and staying on the issues can do. If Nigerians continue to complain that change is not here without them coming out to, for example, register to vote, or come out to attend a public hearing that is intended to capture the opinions of many Nigerians, so as for the document to be one that represents your voices and your intentions, and then it will be very difficult for us to see this change. So it's one thing to call for change, it's another thing to come out, let your voice be heard, and make contributions when necessary to ensure that the change makes it to the light of day.
Sagir Ibrahim, thank you so much for the update, and hopefully, like you said, this time around the change makes it the light of day. Meanwhile, the Senate has postponed its resumption from the annual recess by 2 weeks. Lawmakers who were initially scheduled to reconvene on September 23 will now resume plenary on the 7th of October. In a statement, the Chief of Staff to the Senate President Chinedu Akubweze said The adjustment was necessary and apologized for any inconvenience the short notice may cause. The notice also urged senators to take note of the change and realign their schedules accordingly. No official reason was given for the 2-week shift in resumption. We go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk about how the United States has vowed to place a visa ban on high-profile corrupt Nigerians. We have the details after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Now we go to Kebbi State, where a violent clash between residents of Garin Katta community, Yauri local government area of Kebbi State, over a gold mining site has left one person dead. The crisis, which broke out on Saturday after a misunderstanding among miners, escalated on Sunday when relatives of the deceased reportedly launched a reprisal attack. The confrontation led to the destruction of property, vandalization of shops, and motorcycles being set ablaze. In response, the chairman of Yauri local government area, Abubakar, imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. He says the security agencies, including the police area commander and the Department of State Services, have been notified to restore calm with support from the military. Our correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu joins me now to discuss this. Emmanuel, this is another dimension to the gold mining related crisis that is rocking the northwest region as we speak. How is the Kebbi State government handling it?
Well, it's coming as a surprise to the Kebbi State government because, of course, you know, that particular local government is hosting the presidential artisanal mining initiative. Which is, of course, illegal mining aspect of the mining. They will also have artisanal miners who are illegal miners. So the crisis actually happened between artisanal miners. And it serves as a warning for the government of Kebbi because Yauri local government has been a local government that has had a lot of activities of gold mining individuals. So the Kebbi State government is only reacting. Of course, they have imposed a curfew in that particular local government. And it's a situation that needs a lot of assessment. And of course, to avoid a reoccurrence. This is a situation that happened between two young men who are artisanal miners who actually had a little, clash. And of course, before you know it, a particular guy brought friends, they came with matches and hacked the other guy who is at disadvantage. And before you know it, there was an reprisal right in that particular local government. That's the destruction. It has caused a lot of properties being destroyed, houses burned, and that serves as a deterrent. I mean, there's a lesson for the Kebbi State government. Of course, the presidential initiative, the presidential initiative to take security more serious because apart from dealing with the fact that bandits have taken over the gold mining site in some areas, this is another dimension that needs a lot of assessment. Yeah.
So, Emmanuel, what extent of damage has this resulted to so far?
Yes. A lot of persons are injured, currently receiving treatment at the hospital. Of course, we see cars damaged. Houses numbering up to, at least the ones that were counted by our sources, numbering up to 15 and 20. Houses completely burnt down. You can see those pictures there. The deputy governor was in the community yesterday. Of course, the local government chairman and the Nigerian army and the police were there to assess the damages. So far, so good. Of course, investigation is still ongoing, but so far, so good on records. We have a lot of persons in the hospital currently receiving treatment. And of course, those houses you see there burned down, numbering up to 15 to 20. And of course, by the time it's in the next 48 hours, probably a lot of statement will come out as to the findings. What are the findings of that particular investigation? Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bagudu, for that. The United States mission in Nigeria has reiterated that high-profile individuals involved in corruption are not exempted from visa restrictions and can be barred from entering the U.S., irrespective of their economic status or position. This declaration was made via the mission's official X account. The U.S. is taking steps since May 2023 to impose visa bans on persons who undermined Nigeria's democratic process during the 2023 general election. Secretary of State Antony Blinken emphasized that the U.S. is dedicated to supporting democracy in Nigeria and globally by restricting visas of those involved in corruption and election interference. And now to update on the 80th UNGA Summit. Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirmed commitment to continuous international cooperation. He was speaking at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, where he's representing President Bola Tinubu. The Vice President is expected to deliver Nigeria's national statement, participate in high-level debates, and unveil the country's new climate commitments under the Paris Agreement. He will also attend roundtables on housing, bilateral meetings, among other events. Right now, international trade consultant Collins Oweke joins us to speak on this. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Collins Oweke. It's that time of the year again, and world leaders are getting their voices heard. What should be Nigeria's best foot forward in this year's edition?
Thank you, Blessing, for having me. Well, the Vice President, ably representing Nigeria, not just President Bola Tinubu, has given us some indications of the package he's, taking to the United Nations General Assembly. So as Nigeria heads into this assembly, the 80th, the global stage is both a challenge and an opportunity. Our multilateral institutions, especially the United Nations Security Council, are rooted in a post-World War II world that increasingly struggles to respond to a crisis of the 21st century. One of the major issues is the one that the Vice President, already talked about, which is climate change, displacement, conflict, inequality. These are the major issues bordering the world, but Nigeria is also part of that world. So for Nigeria, this is not abstract. It is among the countries most exposed to climate risk. Farmers are already losing harvest, as we know, across the country, to erratic rain or suffering in droughts. The coastal communities, Lagos, where you are, being one of them, are being swallowed by ocean surges. At the same time, Nigeria is also it has a voice in all of this, and it has continued to use that voice. And one will hope that the Vice President will remind the participants that Nigeria has long been a leader in peacekeeping, deploying troops, police, and civilians in dozens of United Nations, African Union, and ECOWAS mission. So Nigeria's voice must be more than ceremonial. It must help, to reshape how the world decides, especially about security, climate, and development, because these are the issues that are uppermost in Nigeria's agenda if we are, to take benefit of, some of the activities, initiatives that this current government has already put in place.
So there's also the Foreign Minister, Yusuf Tuga, who has been quoted as saying that Nigeria will be restating its commitment to multilateralism. Can you help us understand how this will translate to meeting the needs of the daily Nigerians just working to earn a living?
Well, that reaffirmation, Blessings, is not it's not a departure from what Nigeria had been doing before, because essentially it is through multilateralism that Nigeria has been able, to send over 200,000 troops, police and civilians in the service of peace. It is through, such a multilateral arrangement. In 41 UN, AU, and ECOWAS missions since Nigeria gained independence. That is the figure. And if you look at the map of Africa, you're not going to find any other country that has done as Nigeria has done. That contribution demands both respect and a seat at the decision table. It can no longer be that Nigeria, Africa, let me put it that way, that Africa hasn't got a seat at, the UN Security Council. Now, of course, the question is, and that was your main question, how does this impact on Nigeria? Well, it does impact on Nigeria because decisions taken in Brussels here where I am, or in Washington, close to where they are now, they are in New York, these impact everyday Nigerians. Take, for instance, the issue of, sanctioning those that, did some shady deals during the 2023 election. Yes, Nigeria needs the democracy. Those who Nigerians elect, because they believe in them to, defend their interests. If those are not the people that end up, managing the Nigeria's economy, it impacts them in serious ways. Hunger increases and all of that. So we've got to get the fundamentals right. So that is why diplomacy is not an issue far from the beds of the common Nigeria, because it is part of the fundamentals that need to be gotten right so that the will of the people prevail and their life is made better.
So, Mr. Collins-Oweke, there are also those who say that in more than 65 years of nationhood, the UN system has not particularly been of any tangible benefit to Nigerians beyond mere rhetoric. How seriously should we take that concern?
It has to be taken very, very seriously because indeed, the United Nations is frozen in the past. And I mean, if you are frozen in the past and you are not adapting to the changing world, tell me how on earth you are going to be able to respond to the issues affecting mankind as of today. And that is why I hope that, the Vice President will add the very strong Nigerian voice in Africa in calling for, reform of the United Nations, starting with, at least 2 seats for Africa in the UN Security Council. I mean, we are affected by, Africa as a continent, Nigeria being part of it, is affected by the worst crisis in the world. If decisions on global security do not include those most affected, for instance, like I mentioned, the coastal communities in Lagos, farmers up north, the vulnerable in our cities, then those decisions lack legitimacy and they will definitely fail. So reform is not charity, it is justice. Nigeria has done more than its share in peacekeeping. Now, let us share fully in shaping and reforming the structures that determine global security. And I hope these don't end in mere declarations without timelines. These are just speeches. Nigeria must insist on measurable reforms, climate finance, peace process accountability, and indeed the representative, Security Council seats. So these are the issues that I believe that when pursued and pursued conclusively, the common man in Nigeria will begin to see their benefit for them.
All right, Mr. Collins-Oweke, thank you so much for joining us to discuss the conversations centered around the 80th UNGA that is currently ongoing. And like you rightly said, these are issues we need to take more seriously, and we're hoping that these issues are prioritized going forward.
Thank you, Blessings, for having me.
And now several parts of Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have been submerged following a heavy downpour that lasted for several hours this morning. The rain, which began around 5 a.m. and continued until after 10 a.m., left many homes and streets flooded in areas like Gyado Villa, Wadata, Urukum, Achusa, and parts of North Bank. We're now joined by our correspondent, Serese Anyo, who is reporting live from New Kanshu Layout, one of the affected communities. Hello, Serese. What have you seen on the ground, and how bad is the situation with residents who have been affected by the floods?
Hello, Blessings. It's quite devastating what is going on around here at a new Nima layout. It's really devastating because from what I see, I can see that clearly the floods have, broken down some people's homes, even the stairs to their apartment. Most of their apartments are now left open. Some homes around here are almost going down as a result of the floods. And we see that the roads are inaccessible. The roads are inaccessible. We have to enter water to be able to get to this point. Vehicles can no longer access those motorcycles along the way and use their foot to march to their various roads because they can no longer use those vehicles to get to these locations. So it's been on for quite a while because today there was quite a heavy rainfall around 5 a.m. and it lasted for hours. And we could see as we stepped out of the house that many of the roads were flooded. Many apartments are already going down, and some people are threatened by these occurrences because they are saying how long before they lose their homes. Some people have even lost their homes already and they no longer have a place to stay. And one of the residents who is affected, Madam, please can you come forward? Thank you so much.
All right, Teresi, thank you for the updates. Unfortunately, we weren't able to hear very clearly, but we'll definitely circle back to find out what's happening. Now to security matters. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has kick-started an executive capacity building workshop for senior officers of the force aimed at equipping its leadership with skills and knowledge to effectively manage the country's changing conflict landscape. The initiative, according to Egbetokun, shows the force's commitment to reform, professional development, as well as enhancing operational efficiency and building public trust between citizens and its officers.
We face adversaries who are not only persistent but adaptive. Criminal syndicates exploit technology to expand their reach. Terrorist networks rebrand and reorganize to avoid defeat. Local conflicts, once contained, now spill across borders, amplified by social media and transnational alliances. This complexity demands from us more than courage alone. It demands foresight, creativity, and the agility to lead in an environment of constant flux.
The criminals that we have in the society today are very, very complex, sophisticated. They use different types of technology. But the question is, those of us policing the society, do we have the technology? Do we have the sophisticated training? So what we're trying to do here today is to engage these people in a dialogue. What do? We need to analyze the problems afresh and use our understanding of the analysis, use the analytical tools to design solutions that will work as we face the future.
Now, in a move to curb rising criminal activities on Abuja roads, the Vehicle Inspection Office of the Federal Capital Territory Administration says that several motorcycles and vehicles allegedly used for illegal operations, including the common one-chance robberies, have been seized. Officials say many of the impounded vehicles were operating without proper registration, roadworthiness certificates, or identification numbers, making them tools for criminal activity. They're calling on residents to remain alert and avoid boarding unregistered or suspicious vehicles being used for public transportation.
Focus is on criminality mostly, because everybody says, oh, criminals, kidnapping, one chance and all of that. We are going to have many security programs involving getting all the drivers. We'll allocate numbers to all the taxis. We'll go, so that if you are going to be doing transportation in Abuja, we are going to profile all commercial drivers so that everybody will know that when you're entering a commercial vehicle, it is painted, it has the side number. If you decide to use your personal vehicle to do transportation, we will come after you.
We have about 40 vehicles impounded for various traffic offenses. We have some for route violation. We have some for driving against the traffic, and the major one is the unpainted commercial vehicles. You can see that a lot of vehicles around there are not painted, and those are the ones that are being used mostly for one chance, and that is why you see then here we have 40, and we have about 52 commercial motorcycles, mainly for route violations.
And to health matters, kids born in northern Nigeria have a 15% chance of dying before the age of 5. Now, this is according to philanthropist Bill Gates, as he urged governments to reverse global health funding cuts. Speaking at a Reuters newsmaker event in New York, Gates said the world was at a crossroads with millions of children at risk of dying if funding drops too steeply. The Gates Foundation will give $912 million to the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. The announcement follows deep aid cuts from governments around the world, led by the United States. The Kogi State government says it is making significant strides in transforming infrastructure across the Western Senatorial District of the state, with a focus on roads, healthcare, and education. From rural connectivity to environmental resilience, the state is showcasing its commitment to sustainable development. Our correspondent, Bana Balagbubu, takes us on an exclusive media tour to highlight the progress of these projects under Governor Usman Ododo's administration.
Reaffirming its commitment to timely completion of projects, officials of the State Ministry of Information commenced the tour with the 10-kilometer Mopamoro Township Road, a project aimed at boosting connectivity.
It is about showcasing directly what the governor is doing.
Inspection, which was led by Commissioners Kingsley Fowle and Mohammed Yusuf, underscores the administration's focus on improving road networks to ease the transportation of goods and services. Yusuf says that the Kogi State Road Maintenance Agency has been tasked with constructing 10 kilometers of roads in every local government area of the state. Also, in the health sector, the state says that it is remodeling 256 primary healthcare facilities. At Iletu Mopa Primary Health Care Center, a health worker shared the impact of these upgrades.
You can see everywhere is okay now. The roof was replaced with new sink. Everywhere was renovated. We have adequate water. We have solar facility.
In Kababonu, residents praised the agroclimatic resilience in semi-arid landscapes project for tackling erosion and flooding, which once destroyed properties worth millions of naira.
Some of them thought their house and houses is going to go with it, but through the Savior, our workaholic governor, they are now proud owners of their houses and their homes.
Also, at the Kogi State University, Kaba, Vice Chancellor Professor Kehinde Eniola celebrated the institution's rapid growth.
As part of our campus development, actually we have just come about 30% of our campus space, and with the kind of commitment we are seeing from government, we are excited because of the truth, we have a government that is showing true commitment.
The tour included a visit to a security base in Kababonu, constructed by the local government, and a remodeled school where the Commissioner for Education emphasized inclusive development. Commissioner Fowle urged citizens to protect public infrastructure and sustain development seen on the ground.
Imbibe conducts that will protect the infrastructure of the government.
In Kaba, for News Central, Moreno Balagbubu.
It's still live with us on 12 Reports. We go on a short break now, and when we come back, we've got more stories. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on the 12 Report. Now to stories outside the continent. The military-led West African nations of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have announced their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, branding it a neo-colonial imperialist tool. The juntas, which took over in Bamako, Ouagadougou and Niamey after coups between 2020 and 2023, have since allied themselves in a confederation called the Alliance of Sahel States and distanced themselves from the West, notably from former colonial ruler France. The three states also said they wanted to create indigenous mechanisms for the consolidation of peace and justice. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have notably drawn closer to countries such as Russia, whose President Vladimir Putin have been the subject of ICC arrest warrant since March 2023 over the war in Ukraine. Authorities in Guinea have reported a strong voter turnout in the referendum on a draft constitution, a development closely watched both at home and abroad. The proposed charter is seen as a pivotal step toward organizing national elections after years of military rule. The draft constitution outlines provisions for future democratic governance, yet it has drawn controversy for including measures that would permit the junta leader who took power in a 2021 coup to contest the presidency. Now, this has fueled debate over whether the reforms genuinely advance democracy or reinforce existing power structures. As counting continues, attention remains focused on how the outcome will shape Guinea's political transition and the country's prospects for long-term stability. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron has officially recognized the Palestinian state at a United Nations on Monday, marking a historic and symbolic move that has encouraged several Western countries to follow suit. While speaking at a summit co-hosted by France and Saudi Arabia, Macron called for an immediate end to the war in Gaza, the release of 48 hostages held by Hamas, and a ceasefire. Australia, Britain, Canada, and Portugal had recognized the Palestinian state the day before, with Monaco, Belgium, Andorra, Malta, and Luxembourg joining the recognition during the summit. Israel and the United States, however, boycotted the summit. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to prevent a Palestinian state, with far-right cabinet members threatening annexation of the West Bank. And for more on this, I'm joined by our senior international correspondent and anchor Afia Hagen. Afia, can you tell us what France has said about its move to recognize the state of Palestine?
Macron was speaking at that summit between Saudi Arabia and France yesterday, and he said the time for peace has come and that nothing justifies the ongoing war in Gaza. He also warned against the perils of endless wars and said that right must prevail over might. He also was talking about the two-state solution and said we must do everything in our power to preserve the possibility of a two-state solution. And that would see Israel and Palestine side by side in peace and security.
So what can we expect U.S. President Donald Trump to say in his address of the UN today?
Well, yes, it's all eyes on Donald Trump at the United Nations today. He's going to be speaking around 3 p.m. We have had this wave of countries recognizing the state of Palestine, something that the US said that they are not going to do. He's really been balancing this kind of America first policy with global interventions in the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza. So it'll be interesting to see how he marries those two concepts when he gives that speech at the UN today around 3 p.m.
From addressing General Assembly, what else will Trump be up to in New York today?
Well, yes, after Trump has spoken at the United Nations, he is going to have some meetings with Arab leaders, perhaps Arab leaders sitting down with them to try and bring forward some negotiations for the war in Gaza, something which is ongoing. That's going to be high on his agenda, as is the war in Ukraine. He's going to be meeting with President Zelensky as well later on today, a very important meeting that will be taking place, and that is about forwarding peace in that part of the world as well. So like I said, balancing this America First policy with global interventions.
All right, thank you so much, Afia Hagen, international correspondent and anchor, for the updates. And we're looking forward to seeing how the meeting turns out. All right, now we've gotten wind of the fact that Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is going into the National Assembly, as we have expected. And our correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, is still there live to give us updates. Sagir, if you can hear me, what's happening there as we speak? Sergio Ibrahim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Blessings. Good afternoon once again. My apologies. Sorry, I didn't know that you were speaking with me because situation here just got a little bit complicated. I'm trying to switch my camera so that you can see that supporters of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, some of them have made way into the National Assembly premises as it is. It had to take the intervention of several mobile police officers shooting tear gas canisters. I counted about 3 or 4 of them that were shot at the supporters of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan just to prevent the entire crowd from accessing the premises. But then this is the number that made it into the National Assembly premises as it is. We do not know whether this number will be allowed into the main White House and also allowed to see her office as the situation is. Because these supporters here say they are here to follow their lawmaker to the National Assembly premises, following the development earlier this morning that our office was indeed unsealed by the National Assembly management. So here they are with their numbers. As you can see, police officers are still here trying to control the crowd as it is. So they're trying to make sure that they do not cross this line as the case may be. We do not know what shape or form they are going to use to deter them, but as you can see, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is here. She's here at the moment, and she intends to access her office premises. If you just hold on for me for a little bit. So she's here. She's making way to her office. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, welcome back to the Senate. How does it feel? How does it feel now? All right, well, there you have it. That submission from Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, as the case may be. We're now making way. Yes, it is. It's unfortunate that the number of our supporters were tear gas at the gate, and the gate close behind them. Particularly around the People's Parliament, people should have unhindered access to the National Assembly. And this was my question is just willfully, I decided to accompany here. So, Natasha Akpoti, you are live on News Central Television right now. All right. Okay. So I literally wanted to ask how it was traversing from the court to this premises. How was it? You can see the interior of the people. No restriction, no limitation, no hindrances can restrict the people's vote. Our voice has been denied for the past 60 years. We are here today to take what we ought to rightfully. Civil people with disobedience is a constitutional right of every Nigerian. In 1776, Martin Luther King Jr. Civil disobedience wasn't killed. We say no to killing anymore. Our voice cannot be silenced. This justice can never be sustained. But at this point, what does the crowd intend to do at this point? I mean, you're already inside the National Assembly premises as it is. Yes, Mr. Zuberi, you submitted the petition. I can remember you. You're here once again. How does it feel? Very wonderful, very fantastic, in fact, everybody were happy because this is what we expected. You can't stop people's voice. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is a people's voice from Kogi Center to the district. And it's a woman that everybody wants her to be there because she's giving us a good representative. She's giving us she's a good ambassador of the leaders. In fact, she has protected our image perfectly at national level and international level. What's your response to the news of the National Assembly opening up her office, unsealing the office this morning? It's overdue. In fact, I blame them because I expect them to do this quite some time. It's unfortunate. Assembly is our place. It's not an individual. It's owned by all citizens of Nigeria. It's not owned by an individual. At National Assembly, they made a great mistake by unlocking our office for so long. It's unfortunate. Well, at least I'm not giving them applause because it's what I expect them to do long time. So it's not an indictment. Thank you so much, Mr. Zuberi. Yes, that was Mr. Zuberi. He filed the petition. Sorry, hold on one moment. I'm live on TV. He filed the petition against, of course, President Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President, earlier. He was the one who was invited by the Senate Committee on Ethics to speak as regards to the allegations that was raised by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. As you can see, she's actually meeting with the people, trying to get a dialogue of some sort, maybe to know what the next steps are going to be since they have now accessed the National Assembly premises. But then we'll keep you updated on what the matters are. We're here on ground monitoring the situation live, and we definitely continue to give live updates as they develop. Blessings, it's back to you now.
All right. Well, you've seen the situation there. It escalated quite quickly as supporters of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan have been tear gassed. At least we saw about 3 to 4 of them trying to wash the effects of their eyes. But as we see that they're still proceeding into the building, and we'll definitely keep you updated on what's happening. We can see a bit of consulting with the senator herself, and we're yet to find out what the next line of action will be. But what we're certain about is that she's headed to the building, and from the look of things, the supporters cannot be stopped anytime soon. The concern today is politics. In Malawi, democracy just delivered a plot twist that feels like change and more like deja vu. Sometimes the future looks suspiciously like the past, even when the past wasn't particularly brilliant. Now, the former president, Peter Mutharika, is edging ahead of incumbent Lazarus Chakwera in early results. And this is an election that, as we know, is a tight race, and everyone, especially in Malawi and even across the African continent, has been looking forward to. And that's not just a victory, it's a statement. Malawians seem to be saying, we'll take the devil we know over the devil we're tired of knowing. But here's what makes this fascinating. 5 years ago, Malawi made African democratic history when its courts annulled the 2019 election for irregularities. That bold move earned global applause and set a continental precedent. Now, the same electoral system that once impressed the world is being watched with microscopic intensity. One fumbled tally sheet, one transparency hiccup, and that hard-earned credibility could evaporate. The real story isn't just about who wins. It's about what winning actually means when you inherit a country where inflation hovers above 20%, cyclones regularly wipe out crops, millions face food insecurity. The next president won't just be taking an oath of office. They'll be inheriting a pressure cooker that's been building steam for years. So, are Malawians choosing nostalgia over stability, or simply frustrated enough with the current leadership to gamble on familiar dysfunction? Either way, they're essentially asking, can recycled leadership solve problems that have outlasted multiple governments? Democracy gave Malawians the right to choose their leaders. It just didn't promise that leaders would be different. Sometimes the most profound electoral statement is deciding that imperfect experience beats disappointing promises. And that's your postscript.